hello, everybody, and also a big thank you from my side for having us and giving us the opportunity to present the findings of our recent project. Let me just pull up the slides that I've prepared for this. Yes, here we go. So yeah, thank you again for having us. It's a great opportunity for us to share our research results with a wider audience. And I think Konstantin really summarized the stakes quite well and why this topic matters and why we should care about it. So let me dive right into what we did in this study. And the point of departure for us, or the reason why we thought that it was relevant to approach this topic from the research angle, is that obviously parts of Ukraine have already undergone quite a lot of reconstruction, which means that we can learn from reconstruction.
Sorry, Mr. Volbon. Can I just interrupt you for a moment? We cannot see the presentation yet. I think something got stuck when you were switching to full screen mode.
And I will try again. Does this work for you?
Yeah, we don't see the full screen mode yet, but we do see the slides.
Okay, but it seems like I'll just share again. It seems to be some
technical issue.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No worries.
Are you still stuck with
Yes, unfortunately.
And if I do it like this, then you can see
yes.
the slides. Okay,
yes,
then
maybe
we'll just do it like
keep it
this.
at that.
Sorry about
Thank
that.
you.
With this out of the way, let me go back to the point of departure for this study, which is that obviously we have seen already 3.5 years of reconstruction in parts of Ukraine. And we can learn from these 3.5 years, not only in terms of what kind of reconstruction was effective and what has worked and what has not worked, but also regarding how reconstruction affects the social fabric in the communities that have undergone this development. And one of the things that we were aware of, or that we were worried about, is that reconstruction is obviously because we operate in an environment of scarce resources. It is obviously a process with distributive consequences. So the money that we spend, there need to be decisions on who gets access first, whose life is being reconstructed first, what kind of efforts are being prioritized and also deprioritized, and this creates winners and losers. And there is previous research on these kind of competitive dynamics that suggests that this can lead to intergroup conflict. In particular, this research in peace and conflict studies comes from a lot of civil war contexts, which are just the contexts that have been studied most in the last 20 to 30 years. But it is also a common assumption among many practitioners that work in the field of reconstruction, especially those from international donors and so on, international organizations, because they have collected their own experiences and their working knowledge in these contexts as well. And so this assumption that reconstruction can create intergroup conflict is something that's very common both in academia, but then also among practitioners. And then the consequence of this conflict, is intergroup conflict, is obviously that it can have a detrimental effect on social cohesion, which is what we were particularly interested in. And that's why we thought it would be good for us to ask two questions in this study. The first one is, what impact does reconstruction have on social cohesion? And then this is followed by a second question, a more practical one, which is what donors can do to minimize negative impacts while maximizing positive impacts. And we did this by looking at one community, Irpin, as it has been mentioned. Some of you might know this. It's a suburb of Kiev. After the battle for Kiev was won by the Ukrainians, it was one of the first communities in Ukraine that has seen a lot of attention, but also resources flowing into the community for reconstruction. And we thought it would be a good idea to really zoom in to the local dynamics and understand on this local level the connection between reconstruction and social cohesion. And to get this kind of a detailed local analysis, we had a research design with a quantitative element. As mentioned by Konstantin, we did a survey in which we asked a set of around 30 questions to 610 people in Irpin, together with a partner, the Razunkov Center in Ukraine. And then there was also a qualitative element. So we conducted interviews with reconstruction stakeholders, but also just ordinary residents of Irpin to understand their perspectives on reconstruction. And with that being said, I want to come to the results, because that is what we are all interested in and what we're here for. And I want to structure it in key messages. The first key message that I would like to highlight is that reconstruction does have an impact on social cohesion, and it does so negatively, but not between ordinary citizens. And this is also what Konstantin alluded to already before. I want to give you a little view into the data to make this argument. So we asked the residents of Irpin in this sample. We asked them if they perceive the process of reconstruction in Irpin as fair or not. And here you can see that there is a majority of people. If you calculate the mostly unfair and not fair at all together, that there is a relative majority of people that say that reconstruction is not fair. And then there's also a big percentage of people that say that it's neither fair or unfair. And we then followed up on this question also by asking if people perceive that there are any undue beneficiaries of reconstruction, so people that basically benefit too much from reconstruction. And there we can see a really overwhelming majority of people who say that, yes, there are people that receive too much funds, that overly receive the benefits of reconstruction. And then the other side of the coin, obviously, is that people, unsurprisingly now, also said that there are other groups that are being neglected or left behind. Here we also see quite a dramatic number of people that have answered this way. We then went on to ask which groups are perceived to benefit unduly from reconstruction in Irpin. And I think this is where it gets interesting, and where some of this nuance that Konstantin mentioned early comes to show, because we can see very clearly here that 81% of people think that local authorities benefit unduly. We also see that there's a good percentage of people that think that rich residents, in particular business owners and so on, that they benefit too much from reconstruction. But then, as you can also see, these social groups that I mentioned earlier, that we, coming from other research, had expectations about competition in between them about reconstruction funds. Basically, none of them are perceived to benefit unduly from reconstruction in Irpin. It's really the elites, so to say. and this shows us that the line of conflict, so to say, it doesn't run in between these groups like veterans, IDPs, just regular residents. It runs between the general population and elites, such as local authorities and rich residents, which is quite an interesting result. Also contrasting from the theoretical kind of expectations that we had based on prior research. And this points at something that where it can help us to conceptualize social cohesion in two dimensions. One is the horizontal dimension, so trust, cohesion between people, really peer to peer. And the other one is vertical cohesion between citizens and institutions. And based on the data that we have aggregated, I think we can make the argument that vertical cohesion is very much under pressure, that there are ruptures, but horizontal cohesion, not so much. And I will elaborate on that even more. But then we also, I'll elaborate on that later. Before more on, I want to go a bit deeper on the authorities point and the vertical social cohesion, because we asked people to tell us if they trust local and national authorities with reconstruction. And here again, we can see if we put not very much and no trust at all together, that there's also a majority of people that don't trust authorities to handle reconstruction. As such, we see a small difference between local and national institutions. National institutions tend to have a little bit more trust, but overall the picture here reinforces this argument that I've made earlier about vertical cohesion. And so also does the picture if we look at transparency, because we also asked how transparent the reconstruction process is perceived. And here again, we also see a big majority of people that say that reconstruction is either not transparent or even not transparent at all.